There are few people that had as much political and social influence in 20th century America as Roy Cohn. If you're like me and have been watching the new steamy Showtime series Fellow Travelers starring Matt Bomer and Jonathan Bailey, you probably have this historical figure fresh on your mind. This little man with a scar down his nose and harsh-hooded eyes was as controversial as he was consequential. With friends like Ronald Reagan and a protege named Donald J. Trump, some even argue that his influence continues to be felt from beyond the grave. So who was this conniving individual? Here's an abbreviated history of Roy Cohn. At only 24 years old, Cohn played a major role in the 1951 espionage trial of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, a married couple accused of sharing atomic bomb secrets with the Soviet Union. As an assistant U.S. attorney at the time, Cohn's examination of Ethel's brother David Greenglass was pivotal in securing the Rosenbergs' conviction and ultimately led to their execution. There's consensus among historians that this trial was chock full of prosecutorial misconduct on the part of Cohn and others, including perjured testimony, among other fraudulent tactics. But regardless, the successful prosecution propelled the young lawyer's career into the public spotlight. I'd highly recommend the 2019 documentary Bully Coward Victim: The Story of Roy Cohn, which was directed by the Rosenbergs' granddaughter Ivy Meeropol and examines both Cohn's life and how he affected her family.
I work for the committee here. They know how we go about handling situations of communist infiltration.
With the attention and support of public officials like then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, Republican Senator from Wisconsin, Joseph McCarthy, was persuaded to hire Cohn as his chief counsel. In this role, Cohn assisted McCarthy's work on the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations, aggressively going after public officials accused of being communists. Occurring parallel to and in conjunction with McCarthyism was the Lavender Scare. Cohn and McCarthy claimed that the Soviet Union was blackmailing gay federal employees in the US government. This led to President Dwight D. Eisenhower's Executive Order 1045-0 on April 27, 1953. The order banned homosexuals from federal employment for fear of a national security risk, and it was in effect well into the 1970s. Based on Cohn and McCarthy's conspiracy theory, this order ended the careers of thousands of civil servants. The irony, however, is that as time went on, it became a known secret that Cohn himself was gay, despite his lifelong denial. But more on that in a second.
You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir, at long last?
Cohn and McCarthy's anti-communist campaign came to an end with the Army of McCarthy hearings of 1954, when the pair was accused of using improper pressure to provide preferential treatment to G. David Schein, a former McCarthy aide and friend to Cohn. The hearings contributed to McCarthy's censure by the Senate later that year, and Cohn returned to his home state of New York to enter private practice.
We have never been notified of any investigation, and we're really beating a dead horse here because there's no allegation.
Cohn went on to have a 30-year-long career in New York, working for a laundry list of powerful clients. He even continued his work in politics, serving as an informal advisor to Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan. A 27-year-old Donald Trump sought Cohn's representation in 1973 after being accused of anti-black discrimination violating the Fair Housing Act. With Cohn's help, Trump ultimately settled the charges out of court and would continue to seek Cohn's representation and mentorship in the years that followed. While working on Ronald Reagan's 1980 presidential campaign, Cohn introduced Trump to a political consultant named Roger Stone. Stone would eventually go on to serve as an advisor to Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. According to Cohn's cousin David Marcus, Cohn even played a pivotal role in the construction of Trump Tower. Built out of concrete during a concrete workers' strike and at a time when the mob owned New York's concrete industry, Cohn ensured the tower's construction through contacts with City Hall and a connection to Fat Tony Salerno. Cohn's law career was marked by impropriety, having faced multiple indictments for stock fraud, obstruction of justice, perjury, and bribery. By 1986, only months before his death, Cohn was disbarred for conduct that was, quote, unethical, unprofessional, and in one case, particularly reprehensible. Despite, or perhaps because of this, Cohn's reputation as a cutthroat fixer continues to precede him. In 2018, amid the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, then-President Donald Trump asked the question, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" The 2019 documentary Where's My Roy Cohn provides a comprehensive look at Cohn and how his legacy is still felt today. Roy Cohn denied being gay his entire life, and even until his death, never admitted to having AIDS. From aiding the Lavender Scare to objecting to New York's first gay rights bill, claiming that homosexual teachers are a grave threat to our children, Roy Cohn's public persona was staunchly anti-gay. But in private, he had several known boyfriends and was diagnosed as HIV positive in 1984. Then President Ronald Reagan, who disgracefully refused to acknowledge the AIDS epidemic for years, helped get Cohn admitted to the National Institute of Health for an experimental AZT treatment. But even at death's door, Cohn denied having AIDS, instead claiming to have liver cancer. Roy Cohn died at the age of 59 on August 2nd, 1986. 10 years later, when the AIDS memorial quilt was displayed in full on the National Mall, one of the then 70,000 names included was Roy Cohn, accompanied by the words bully, coward, victim.